When astronomers first catalogued 3I Atlas in July 2025, the world barely noticed. After all, it was just another interstellar traveler, another piece of cosmic debris wandering through the vast emptiness between stars. The third object of its kind ever seen, sure, but still, by all appearances, nothing more than a silent visitor passing through the solar system on a one-way trip. But then the James Webb Space Telescope, arguably the most powerful eye humanity has ever opened to the cosmos, locked onto it. And what it saw changed everything. This wasn't just an icy rock being warmed by the sun. Deep within 3I Atlas, something was glowing. Not randomly, not chaotically, but rhythmically, like a pulse, like a heartbeat. And as the days went by, what started as a strange curiosity began evolving into something far more disturbing. Brightness levels soared beyond prediction. The object began emitting thermal energy from within, not from its sunlit surface. Then came the signals, radio pulses repeating with inhuman precision. And finally, the course change. The object veered, intentionally. This wasn't a rock on a passive path. This was an object behaving with intent, and possibly with awareness. Something is inside 3I Atlas, and the James Webb Telescope may have just confirmed that it's alive. At first, it was just a statistical outlier, a bright dot among many in the Webb Telescope's infrared feed. But as the team reviewed the data from the NIRSPEC instrument, one anomaly refused to be dismissed. 3I Atlas didn't behave like any other object in space. Typical interstellar visitors dim and brighten irregularly as they spin, eject material, or reflect sunlight unevenly from icy surfaces. But 3I Atlas showed no such variability. Instead, its brightness remained eerily constant. Even more alarming, the object emitted a centered, focused glow from its core, like a miniature furnace pulsing at exact intervals. Every 4 hours, the heat surged and faded in a perfectly timed cycle, like a biological rhythm. The pattern was too precise to be geological. It didn't correspond to rotation, solar wind, or any known natural process. It came from deep inside, completely unaffected by the changing angle of sunlight or the object's distance from the sun. Scientists called it a thermal anomaly, but off the record, some began whispering another word: heartbeat. The pulse was slow, deliberate, and mechanical, resonating not like a star's radiation, but like an engine breathing in deep space. Something inside this object was generating internal energy, independent of external forces. And for those studying the patterns, one terrifying question began to emerge: what kind of object powers itself in the dark? As the thermal data became impossible to ignore, radio astronomers joined the investigation. Telescopes across the globe, from South Africa to California, aimed their receivers at 3I Atlas. For days, the feeds were clean. Then came the breakthrough. The Allen Telescope Array detected a faint, narrow-band signal, a consistent pulse emerging every 4 hours, perfectly synchronized with the thermal surges detected by Webb. At first, skepticism reigned. Could it be noise, an echo, local interference? But as hours turned to nights and nights into weeks, the signal did not waver. It was steady, exact, and incredibly persistent. The pulse wasn't just present, it was adaptive, showing minute variations aligned with fluctuations in the solar wind. Multiple facilities confirmed the same pattern, ruling out equipment error or human-made sources. And the repetition, it was too mathematically clean. Fourier analysis revealed a stable carrier wave, unlike anything naturally occurring in space. It was as if something on board 3I Atlas was not just active, but trying to broadcast. Teams attempted to match the signal to known pulsars, neutron stars, and cosmic background radiation, but every test returned negative. There were no natural explanations left. The last test involved sending a simple message back: a series of prime numbers, elements of the periodic table, and basic mathematical constants. 72 hours later, a reply arrived, distorted, faint, but it was there, and it arrived on time, to the second. Something had heard us, and something had answered. It was August 18th when everything changed again. Webb's continuous feed captured a sudden flare from 3I Atlas, an explosive surge of energy that increased the object's brightness by over 40% in less than an hour. No comet behaves like that, not even when erupting with jets of vapor or dust. But even more shocking was what followed. A recalibration of the object's trajectory showed a subtle, but undeniable course correction. 3I Atlas wasn't just drifting anymore, it was steering. The change brought it closer to the ecliptic plane of the solar system, aligning it more precisely with the inner planets. The European Space Agency's orbital modelers, led by Marco Michelli, reran simulations, attempting to attribute the maneuver to outgassing or other physical processes. But the math didn't fit. The thrust required for such a shift was far greater than any natural jetting could produce. And more tellingly, the flare and the course change occurred simultaneously, as if one triggered the other. No known comet, asteroid, or interstellar object has ever altered its own trajectory. Not like this, not with purpose. If something aboard 3I Atlas was responding to us, our signal, our instruments, our presence, then this was no longer just an observation. This was an encounter. And whatever was piloting this object had just made its first move. In the aftermath of the flare and trajectory shift, attention turned to the object's composition. Spectroscopic analysis was accelerated across all major observatories. The team at Johns Hopkins, led by Carrie Liss, began dissecting every wavelength Webb could deliver. What they found deepened the mystery tenfold. While common comet elements like water ice, CO2, and carbon were present, they were overlaid by absorption lines never before recorded in nature. Some indicated the presence of metallic alloys, including rare earth elements used in advanced manufacturing here on Earth. Others hinted at quantum materials theorized in laboratories, but never observed outside speculative physics papers. These weren't random cosmic compounds. They were engineered, structured at a molecular level to behave in ways that natural materials cannot. Certain reflections in the infrared spectrum mimicked the optical profiles of metamaterials designed to bend light, the same kind used in stealth technologies. In short, 3I Atlas wasn't just active. It wasn't just responding. It was constructed with a level of precision beyond anything humanity has ever produced. And if the materials are synthetic, and the signals are deliberate, then it's no longer a question of what 3I Atlas is. The question now is, who built it, and why is it here? While spectrometric analysis continued, researchers at Caltech's Deep Space Lab began experimenting with passive signal mapping, essentially listening to 3I Atlas across multiple wavelengths simultaneously to detect any structural resonance. What they discovered shook the scientific community to its core. The object wasn't just emitting radio pulses, its entire mass was acting like a resonant chamber. Every few hours, a low-frequency hum reverberated across the X-band and microwave spectrum, echoing back to Earth with a delay too consistent to be random. What's more disturbing is that when the signal was reversed, slowed down, and layered over a sonogram of human speech, it produced patterns eerily similar to language, not any known language, but structured, intelligible, as if something inside 3I Atlas was mimicking communication, or worse, listening and learning. Some analysts believe the object isn't just reacting to signals, it's adapting, aligning itself to the vibrational logic of human transmission, perhaps preparing to speak in a way we can finally understand. But others fear a more chilling alternative. What we're hearing may not be the object itself, but something inside, stirring, waking, preparing to emerge. A new round of infrared imaging from the James Webb Space Telescope revealed something even more baffling. Deep within the heat map of 3I Atlas, scientists observed a moving internal structure, not random, not fluid, but spiral-shaped, rotating with unnatural consistency. The spiral was dense, smooth, and regular, as if constructed. Its movement was not reactive, like you'd expect from shifting debris inside a tumbling mass. It was autonomous, rotating on an axis that remained steady even as the object itself spun freely through space. This internal core seemed unaffected by inertia, suggesting some form of inertial dampening or internal gravity control, technologies we've only dreamed of in theoretical physics. Even more unsettling was the realization that the spiral's dimensions followed a perfect golden ratio, not once, but recursively at 3 different scales. In nature, this pattern emerges in living organisms, DNA coils, galaxies, nautilus shells. but never in cold rocks from deep space. It's a blueprint of organic intelligence, a fractal fingerprint, something we associate with design, not chaos. And if there's a golden spiral spinning at the heart of this thing, then it's not just alive, it may be aware. Less than a week after the spiral discovery, a sudden dip in the object's brightness was recorded, initially thought to be rotational shadowing. But high-contrast imaging from Webb revealed something unprecedented. A section of 3I Atlas's surface had shifted, not crumbled, not cracked, moved. A panel, rectangular, smooth, and reflective, had retracted, revealing a dark cavity within. No natural comet or asteroid has ever displayed mechanical motion. The retraction was clean, symmetrical, and permanent. Inside the newly exposed cavity, infrared scans detected no debris, no gas, no thermal chaos. Instead, there was stability, a space engineered to remain cold and dark, like a chamber or a cradle. Scientists were divided. Was this an exhaust port, a sensor array, a hatch? Whatever it was, it had opened toward Earth. And as the object continued on its course, that opening remained locked on our planet like an eye, not passive, not observing, targeting. And inside that cavity, a secondary pulse began to emerge, different in tone, slower, but stronger. A second heartbeat. Something else had awakened inside. As if all this weren't enough, NASA's Ames Research Center made one final discovery that reframed everything. Using advanced data correlation between JWST's readings and Earth-based spectral databases, they identified trace compounds in the object's emission spectrum that matched terrestrial biopolymers. Not exactly DNA, but molecules so similar in structure and functionality that they behaved like synthetic analogs of organic tissue, lab-grown hybrid material designed to mimic life. These polymers weren't passive. They responded to solar radiation by altering shape at a molecular level, suggesting programmability, like living circuits. We've only begun to experiment with this on Earth in biotech labs, but 3I Atlas is built with it. The lines between biology and engineering blur completely inside this object. It's not alive in the way we understand life, nor is it a machine in the way we define technology. It is both, or perhaps something beyond both. A vessel, a seed, a being, a message encoded in form. And if that message is waking up now, the question is no longer what is inside, but what happens when it gets out. By now, it was clear that 3I Atlas was no accidental traveler. But then came the most disturbing revelation yet. Using historical gravitational lensing data combined with recent motion analysis, a group of independent physicists noticed a subtle but undeniable pattern. The object's current trajectory wasn't unique. In fact, a nearly identical path had been recorded before, not by human instruments, but by ancient geological formations. On Mars, on Europa, even on Earth. Megastructures like the pyramids of Giza, Nazca lines, and Martian ridges, long thought to be coincidental or natural, showed mathematical alignments pointing to the precise vector that 3I Atlas now follows. This was no coincidence. It was as if the object had passed through before, and its arrival had been carved into stone by civilizations long gone, or perhaps long manipulated. Scientists began speaking of gravitational memory, of the idea that space-time itself remembers motion. But if this object had been here before, then it's not just visiting, it's returning. And the real question becomes, what happened the last time? In a desperate effort to understand the object's nature, scientists tried a last-ditch experiment. They used the massive chime array in Canada to broadcast a wideband silence pulse toward 3I Atlas, a method designed not to speak, but to listen for vacuum response. It's a method theorized to expose artificial voids, like rooms behind walls in archaeological digs, only on a cosmic scale. When the signal reached the object, the result was shocking. For 6.3 seconds, 3I Atlas absorbed all detectable frequencies without returning a trace. Not reflection, not refraction, just pure silence. Then, on the 7th second, it emitted a single return pulse, but one that exactly matched a 1977 anomaly known as the WOW signal, once believed to be the strongest candidate for extraterrestrial contact. The implications were devastating. Either the object had captured that signal across time and replayed it deliberately, or it was the original source of the transmission. Suddenly, what we thought was a cold traveler became a possible origin point of contact, a ghost replaying its own message. But if 3I Atlas was the broadcaster, who was the intended receiver? With fear mounting among those closest to the data, an unofficial task force formed, a blend of astrophysicists, linguists, exobiologists, and philosophers. Their findings, though unpublished, leaked into the scientific underground. The patterns encoded in the object's pulses weren't random. They followed a symbolic structure known as a recursive universal grammar, a system of meaning that transcends language, math, and biology. In essence, it was a template for intelligence itself. More alarming, this template showed signs of emergent self-reference. In simpler terms, it wasn't just communicating, it was talking about itself. Researchers believe 3I Atlas may contain a non-human consciousness, not stored in databanks or circuits, but embedded in geometry, light, and resonance. The object is not simply alive. It may be aware of us, not just because we observed it, but because it had already factored us into its design. As if its journey through our solar system was always meant to trigger recognition, not from us, but from within itself, as if it had come home. Then came the last twist. Observatories worldwide began reporting something even more unexpected, subtle variations in star positions, not massive, not immediately visible, but real. The fixed stars that guide everything from GPS satellites to ancient navigators had shifted by fractions of arcseconds, too small to affect daily life, but large enough to trigger alarms in every astrophysical model. When triangulated, the distortions all converged in a way that warped time signatures near 3I Atlas. A team from the University of Tokyo ran predictive simulations and reached a chilling conclusion. The object was not just distorting light or gravity, it was subtly bending space-time around itself. Not enough to form a wormhole or a black hole, but enough to suggest a localized manipulation of the fabric of reality. The only known entities capable of that are black holes. But 3I Atlas doesn't devour. It orchestrates. It reshapes the sky, not as a side effect, but as a message written across the stars. Something is emerging, and it's rewriting not only what we know of the cosmos, but how the cosmos has always seen us. As data from 3I Atlas continued to stream in, a team at CERN attempted a radical approach. They fed the object's signal pulses through a harmonic resonance model typically used to predict quantum decoherence in particle collisions. What emerged stunned everyone. The object's emissions created perfect harmonic structures when mapped across multidimensional phase space, something that only happens in tightly tuned physical systems like musical instruments or atomic clocks. But then, during a session on September 2nd, the signal collapsed into chaotic noise, only to reform seconds later into an entirely new harmonic mode. This wasn't a glitch. It was a modulation, as if the object had detected the analysis and responded by altering its internal structure to avoid pattern recognition. This level of awareness isn't just reactive, it's adaptive, like a living intelligence protecting its core secrets. Researchers began referring to this moment as the veil, because it was the first indication that 3I Atlas wasn't just being observed, it was deciding what we were allowed to see. As the object's velocity and trajectory were refined, something deeply troubling emerged. According to orbital mechanics and known astrophysical constraints, 3I Atlas would have had to originate from a region of interstellar space nearly 100 light-years away. Yet, based on its current speed and path, it would have taken over 500,000 years to arrive here, unless it accelerated at some point. But there was no evidence of deceleration upon entering the solar system. No detectable fuel source. No ion tail consistent with propulsion. Nothing. The math was impossible, unless time itself had been altered. A small team at MIT proposed an outrageous theory. 3I Atlas may have used time dilation to traverse space faster than light, not by breaking relativity, but by bending around it. That would make it not just a visitor from another star system, but a temporal traveler, something that crossed time as easily as it crossed distance. And if it has done this before, then it may have seen civilizations rise and fall, including ours. One of the most unexpected discoveries came not from a scientist, but from an artist, Lucia Fenn, a data sculptor who visualizes astronomical data using 3D rendering algorithms. When she plotted the structural geometry of the object's internal resonance from the previous harmonic data, she noticed something that froze her in place. A recurring geometrical pattern resembling a face, not human, but symmetrical, elongated, and deeply alien. At first, her render was dismissed as pareidolia, our tendency to see patterns where none exist. But further analysis confirmed that the resonance data did encode the pattern deliberately, repeated at several scales. The object was broadcasting a shape, a symbolic form of identity, a face, a mind, a presence. Whether it was a creator, a pilot, or a representation of the intelligence within, no one could say. But now the message was no longer mathematical or mechanical. It was visual, emotional. It was trying to be recognized, and the face was staring back. In a final attempt to understand the object, the James Webb team focused all available instruments on one area near the spiral core. What they found wasn't a heat source or a signal emitter, but a region that defied all known laws of reflection. Light entered, but didn't return. Not absorption, containment. It was as if the area functioned as a light trap, or worse, a data vault. When they mapped the surrounding gravitational field, they discovered something even more shocking. The mass density of the object suggested an interior far larger than its physical volume, like a TARDIS effect, where internal space exceeds external boundaries. If this was true, 3I Atlas could contain an archive, not of matter, but of memory, a record, a museum, or perhaps a seed bank of civilizations encoded in light and time, waiting to be awakened. But the archive was sealed, locked by a geometry no human code had cracked. And maybe it was never meant to be opened, unless we were the key. For centuries, humanity has stared into the night sky searching for answers about our origins, our place in the universe, and whether we are truly alone. We sent signals, we built telescopes, we dreamed of visitors, but never, never did we imagine that something might already be watching, waiting for us to simply look closely enough. 3I Atlas didn't just drift into our solar system. It arrived with purpose, with rhythm, with memory. It pulsed like a heart. It answered like a mind. It shifted its course to meet us, like it knew exactly who we are. And now, as it moves silently past Mars, still glowing from within, still emitting signals we barely understand, the question is no longer what it is. The question is what it wants, and whether we were ever supposed to uncover it at all. Is it a probe, a messenger, a relic? Or is it something else entirely, something alive, not in the way we define life, but in a way that redefines us? Because maybe 3I Atlas wasn't meant to reach Earth. Maybe Earth was always meant to reach it. And now that we've seen it, recognized it, and touched it with our machines, one terrifying truth echoes louder than any signal from space. We've already been noticed. And once you've been noticed, you can't go back to being alone. If this sent chills down your spine, you're not the only one. What if the greatest discovery in human history didn't come from a signal we sent, but from a silent object already on its way to us? Subscribe for more breaking revelations as this story unfolds. Let us know in the comments. Do you believe 3I Atlas is alive? Or is it something worse, something built and abandoned?